Welcome back to Under Baobab Skies. Tonight, we delve into the life of a Hausa trader. Picture the dry winds of the Sahel brushing against your skin, carrying with them the scent of dust, sweat, and distant fire. A long caravan stretches into the horizon, camels shifting slowly under heavy loads, men in layered robes guiding their steps, and traders humming songs that keep the night alive. These were the Hausa traders, masters of survival, carrying cloth, salt, beads, and stories across landscapes where each journey balanced profit against peril. Their lives were not just about goods. Each road carried whispers of risk, rival clans waiting to ambush, storms rising without warning, and markets that could turn fortune into famine in a single day. Yet there was rhythm in their steps, a timeless endurance that tied their movement to the pulse of West Africa itself. Let us sink into their world, slowly, like footsteps in soft sand. Tonight, we trace the hardship, the spirit, and the deep endurance of Hausa traders, who lived between exhaustion and wealth, prayer and peril, dust and destiny. Do you remember the great cities of the ancient world, bustling hubs of trade and cultural exchange? Well, imagine a place even grander, a city so vast it's been dubbed the eighth wonder of the world. I'm talking about Gao, a city that once held more gold than all of Europe. It was here, in the heart of the Sahara, where the mighty empires of the Moors and Sanink thrived. And at the center of it all, the spiritual heartland of the Hausa people. Here, under the shade of the baobab trees, around flickering fires and under starry skies, the epic tales of these wandering tribes came to life. Now, close your eyes and picture this. The year is 1960, and you are a young Hausa man. Your village, a small cluster of mud houses nestled in the vast emptiness of the Sahara. Life here is tough, much like the leather straps that hold your sandals together. Every day is a struggle for survival, for water, for food, for a way out of this relentless heat. Then, one day, an idea takes root in your mind, an idea as big as the Sahara itself. You will become a trader, braving the unforgiving terrain and the even more unforgiving people of the desert in search of fortune. Armed with nothing but your wits, courage, and a sturdy staff, you set off towards the horizon. Your journey takes you through landscapes that shift and change like the dunes of the desert. You navigate by the stars, stopping only when the relentless sun forces you to seek shelter under the sparse shade the desert provides. Days melt into weeks, weeks into months, and you witness firsthand the harsh beauty of the Sahara. The scorching sun that tests your endurance, the playful wind that sculpts the dunes, and the haunting silence that echoes the loneliness of the open desert. You barter your wares with the Tuaregs, the nomadic herders of the desert. In exchange for their precious water, you offer tales of the outside world, stories as refreshing as an oasis in the heart of the desert. As you journey further, the air grows heavy with anticipation. The promise of riches from the fabled city of Gao beckons you forward. But the closer you get, the more dangerous the journey becomes. Rival clans lie in wait, ready to pounce on unsuspecting travelers. Bandits as elusive as the desert wind and as deadly as the scorpion-esque sting prowl the trade routes. Preying on lone traders, you find solace only in the camaraderie of fellow travelers, sharing stories and songs around the campfire that light up the darkness like shooting stars. And then, finally, on the horizon, you see it, the shimmering lights of Gao, the eighth wonder of the world. Here, under the shade of the baobab trees, around flickering fires, and under starry skies, the epic tales of these wandering tribes came to life. The city's wealth is legendary, promising untold riches for those who dare to dream big and survive the journey. But as you step into the bustling marketplace, you realize the competition is fierce, the goods plentiful, and the path to fortune is fraught with challenges. The true test is not just in surviving the journey, but in thriving amidst the chaos and competition of the great city. Will you succeed in your endeavor? Will you carve a niche for yourself in the bustling markets of or will the unforgiving desert claim you as its own? The choice, my friend, is yours. If you want to know what happens next in the story, please click the subscribe button. Don't forget to leave a comment below with your thoughts, questions, or suggestions for future episodes. Your engagement fuels our journey. Until next time, may the rhythm of the drums guide you, the wisdom of the elders protect you, and the stories of the ancestors inspire you. Keep listening and stay tuned because the adventure continues under the baobab skies. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time. You are now under baobab skies, and the story begins now. This is a story about a long road. Not the road to Mecca or the road to Timbuktu, but the road taken by a Hausa trader traveling into the great sea of sand that swallowed the African continent. The road for this trader was not just a path of wealth, but of trial. Each journey began with calculation. The weighing of salt against cloth, the balancing of food rations against the endless horizon. To travel from Kano or Katasina into the heart of the Sahara meant leaving family behind for months, sometimes years, and stepping into a world where each mile threatened to take more than it gave. For a Hausiman, the desert held no romance. It was a hungry mouth that demanded constant feedings of water and provisions, and offered little in return, except the gnawing fear of its relentlessness. As the caravan pushed deeper into the Sahel, the land shed its green burden, becoming a vast brown expanse stretching to the zenith. The air grew thick, heavy with the threat of sandstorms that could bury a man alive or blind him for life. Each grain of sand was an enemy, scouring flesh and stinging eyes until even tears offered no relief. Men wrapped cloths around their heads, shielding themselves like women in labor. Camels shuffled closer together, seeking solace in numbers, their mournful grunts echoing the growing despair. The sun knew no mercy. It burned through the thin veil of sky, scorching the earth and baking the travelers into submission. During such times, the Hausa cursed the mountain men who had chosen stone over sand, blessed with cool shade and a view that never shifted. Even the wind turned against them, whipping up mini whirlwinds to mock their slow progress. And then there was the silence. Silence so profound it felt like a presence, an oppressive force pressing down on the weary caravan. It was the silence of a place where life struggled to survive, a stark reminder of how tenuous their existence was in this unforgiving realm. At night, the temperature plummeted, transforming the burning landscape into a frosted wasteland. Men huddled around fires, their bodies trembling not just from cold, but also in anticipation of whatever horrors the next day might bring. Sleep offered little respite, and dreams were filled with mirages that mocked their thirst. Mornings brought a mixture of relief and despair. The night's chill receded, replaced by the promise of a new day. But with it came the realization that they were still in the desert, that the vast emptiness stretched endlessly around them, and that each step forward was hard-won and bought with precious water. In this unforgiving setting, the Hausa trader's resolve was tested daily. His every sense was assaulted, his body endured, his spirit questioned the wisdom of his journey. Yet he pressed on because turning back was not an option. He had obligations, families, businesses, futures that depended on his success. He carried with him the hopes and needs of his community, and failure was not merely personal, it was communal. He dealt with his fears in the only ways he knew how. One was through religion. Before sunrise, while others prepared for the day's trek, he found solitude to pray. His lips moved silently, reciting verses that promised solace and strength. In the evenings, when the stars turned the darkening sky into a prayer rug, he joined others in communal prayers, seeking comfort in the shared faith. These moments were not just spiritual exercises, they were anchors in the sea of sand, grounding him in the familiar amidst the unfamiliar, reminding him of a life beyond the desert's grasp. His other defense was preparation, a testament to the practicality that defined his people. Before a journey, he made sure his supplies were accounted for, his caravan well rested, and his camels laden with care. Each evening, he checked his supplies, rationing out the precious water and ensuring that the camp was secure. Every decision was a calculated risk, every action a balance between immediate needs and long-term survival. In this unforgiving environment, there was little room for error, and his very survival depended on his ability to adapt and improvise. Yet the greatest challenge was not the elements or the preparations, but the fellow travelers, those who shared the same goal, the same fear, and sometimes the same dangers. The desert, he knew, could turn men as harsh and unforgiving as the sand it birthed. Bandits lurked near narrow passes and wells, preying on the unwary. Rival clans guarded routes as if they owned the dust itself, demanding tribute or starting fights to decimate the numbers. And then there were the ordinary travelers, some driven by greed, others by desperation, all with their own stories, their own struggles, and their own demons to confront. In this crucible of humanity, the Hausa trader watched his guard, offering a smile when diplomacy was needed, a nod of respect to elders, and a firm stand when challenged. He carried himself with quiet confidence, not of arrogance, but of one who knew his worth and understood the value of his wares. His interactions were not merely transactional, they were a testament to his culture, a representation of the house people. In every handshake, he was an ambassador of his land, ensuring that his actions reflected positively on his community. But the greatest gamble was in trade itself. To brave the desert was one thing, but the markets they reached could betray their efforts as surely as the weather. A man who left Kano with salt might return with nothing if the rains spoiled harvests in another land, if cloth lost its demand, or if the value of a dye shifted by the whims of empire. Their merchandise was not just commodities, they were stories waiting to be told. Each piece of cloth had a tale of its creation, each sack of salt a journey from mines to market. Understanding these narratives allowed him to weave his own story into the fabric of trade. He did not merely buy and sell, he engaged with fellow traders, listened to their stories, learned from their experiences, and adapted his strategy accordingly. The Hausa trader was a storyteller at heart, and he understood that trade was more than just transactions. It was about connecting people, places, and products in a grand narrative of human endeavor. He was a weaver of destinies, crafting his own future with every thread of commerce he engaged in. The life of a Hausa trader was a study in contrasts. The hardships of the journey juxtaposed with the uncertainty of trade, the agony of the desert against the allure of distant markets. It was a life that demanded resilience, understanding, and a dash of luck. He walked the tightrope between risk and reward, always aware that fortune could shift with the winds of the desert. But for the Hausa trader, these risks were not merely borne, they were embraced. The thrill of the unknown, the challenge of the elements, and the intrigue of distant cultures were not obstacles to him. They were the very essence of his existence. In every challenge, he saw an opportunity. In every hardship, a chance to test his mettle. The Hausa trader's world was one of constant flux, where the only certainty was change. He navigated this flux with a blend of tradition and innovation, honoring his cultural heritage while adapting to the shifting sands of the market. His journey was not just across the desert, it was through the complexities of human interaction and the vagaries of economic exchange. In the end, the Hausa trader's story was not just about the goods he traded or the miles he traversed. It was about the very essence of his being, the unbending spirit that refused to be confined, the adventurous soul that found solace in the rhythm of the road, and the enduring hope that kept him moving forward, one step, one deal, one sunrise at a time. As the fire sinks into quiet embers, I want to tell you about another kind of journey. Not one across the desert sands, but within the heart of a storyteller. Many years ago, there was a young boy in a village by the sea. His name was Omar, and he lived in a world painted with the colors of adventure. Every evening when the sun dipped below the horizon, our story would begin. His father, an old man with eyes that twinkled like distant stars, would sit him down and weave tales of faraway lands. Tales of daring journeys and courageous heroes. And as Omar listened, a seed was planted in his heart. A longing to explore the world, to see the places his father described. Years turned into seasons, seasons into decades, and that little boy never forgot the magic his father had shown him. He grew up listening to the tales of travelers who passed through their coastal village, hearing stories from lands both near and far. With each story, his wanderlust grew, turning into a deep yearning to step outside his own world and discover what lay beyond. Then one day, something remarkable happened. A renowned storyteller arrived in their village. This wasn't just any storyteller. He was famous for his captivating narratives, known to weave such vivid tales that listeners felt they were part of the adventure. When word spread that he would be sharing his stories, young Omar knew he had to attend. Sitting among the crowd, Omar listened intently as the master storyteller wove tales of faraway lands and daring adventures. With each story, he felt his own desire to travel ignite. By the time the storyteller finished, Omar was filled with a renewed sense of purpose. He wanted to experience the world, to see the wonders and meet the people about whom he had heard so many stories. But how could a simple fisherman's son set out on such an adventure? For a while, Omar felt trapped, torn between his dreams of adventure and the reality of his everyday life. But the stories had awakened something within him, a spirit of exploration that wouldn't be denied. So Omar made a decision. He would leave his village and venture out into the world. Saying goodbye to his worried parents, Omar set off. His steps guided by the stories he'd heard, and his heart filled with the spirit of adventure. His journey led him through bustling city streets, across vast open plains, and over towering mountain passes. Along the way, he encountered people from different cultures, each with their own stories to tell. There were merchants with tales of exotic lands, nomads who spoke of ancient traditions, and wise elders who shared their knowledge of the world. With each passing day, Omar's stories grew, becoming richer and more captivating. He learned about different ways of life, customs and beliefs, all of which added to his own personal narrative. He faced challenges, too, moments of doubt, fear and loneliness, but he pushed on, driven by his thirst for adventure. Years passed and Omar's journey continued. He explored hidden valleys, climbed to mountain tops, and sailed on moonlit seas. He collected stories, experiences, and wisdom, all of which transformed him into the kind of storyteller his father had been. Finally, after a lifetime of adventures, Omar decided to return to his coastal village. He was no longer the wide-eyed boy who had yearned to explore the world. He was a seasoned traveler, a collector of tales. As he approached his village, he saw the familiar sights and sounds, but they were now viewed through the lens of his incredible journey. When he sat down to share his stories, the villagers gathered around, eager to hear about the world beyond their own. As Omar spoke, they were transported to faraway lands, meeting mythical creatures, daring heroes, and wise sages. The young listened with wide eyes, their imaginations soaring. The adults nodded knowingly, recognizing the truth in his tales. And then, one day, a young boy named Kamal, sitting at Omar's feet, asked, "When will I be able to travel the world like you?" Omar looked down at the boy, his heart filled with the memories of his own youth. He saw the spark of adventure in Kamal's eyes, the same spark that had ignited his father's stories within him all those years ago. Taking Kamal aside, Omar began sharing his tales, hoping to pass on the torch of storytelling, realizing that in sharing his stories, he was planting seeds of adventure in the next generation. As Kamal listened, his eyes sparkled with excitement. Omar knew that he had found another adventurer, another seeker of stories. From that day forward, Omar and Kamal became companions. They traveled together, exploring new lands and gathering fresh tales. And as they journeyed, Omar shared his secrets, teaching Kamal the art of storytelling, how to captivate an audience, how to make the ordinary seem extraordinary. Kwanadaya ba aini bain, which means tomorrow is not promised. Just as the Hausa traders navigated the uncertainties of their journeys, may these words remind you to embrace each day with courage and curiosity. For every day holds the potential for new adventures and discoveries. The road was never only about dust, sweat, or the sharp fear of ambush. For the Hausa trader, survival also depended on forces more invisible but just as cruel. The invisible hand of the market and the fragile weight of a promise. A caravan could endure weeks under the burning sun, could fight off raiders, could nurse wounds and still march forward, only to arrive in a city where the value of its goods had collapsed. Indigo, carried so carefully from the dye pits, might fetch riches one season and barely cover costs the next. Salt, precious in the desert, could flood the stalls of a city near the mines. Cola, nuts, treasured by chiefs and travelers, could spoil before the deal was struck, turning profit into loss overnight. In this world, to trade was to gamble with shifting tides. A rumor whispered in one market could ripple across hundreds of miles. If war broke out between rival kingdoms, routes closed, and goods lost their value. If a harvest failed, buyers had no cowries to spare. Even when the journey was flawless, the market could betray you with its cold arithmetic. But there was another hazard, one that stalked traders even in the safety of a walled city. It came not from the elements or highwaymen, but from fellow travelers, from townspeople, from friends, from family, from kings. It came from broken promises. For many, trading was a life of debt. Men in far-off lands, as well as those up north in Europe and across the sea in the Americas, needed goods before they had cowries to pay for them. So traders extended credit, relying on the honor of their debtors to repay on arrival in Kano, Cairo, London, or Lisbon. Here, too, there were bonds sealed with words, with oaths spoken in the presence of elders, or even with blessings at the mosque. But not all promises held. A debtor could vanish into another city. A caravan leader might delay payment until next season, stretching hope into thin air. Trust, so essential on the road, frayed easily in the marketplace. Let us pause here for a moment. The fire crackles, Voices soften, and we sit beneath the night sky, feeling the weight of those fragile bargains. We listen to the wind whispering tales of hopes deferred and debts unpaid, of journeys undertaken and deals gone sour. Under this vast canopy of stars, the earth's sorrows seem distant, yet its joys linger like smoke on the breeze. It was not only merchants who faltered, kings, too, sometimes defaulted, seizing goods in the name of tribute or taxation. A wealthy ruler could summon traders, demand textiles, metals, or food, and promise payment when tribute arrives. Traders had little choice but to bow, for power was a currency greater than gold. We pull our cloaks tighter, seeking solace in shared stories and the warmth of companionship. Each face around the fire has a tale to tell, each etched with the passage of time and trials endured. They speak of bustling markets and dusty roads, of the camaraderie forged on long journeys and the betrayals suffered at the hands of kings. Yet life goes on. The old say that a good trader must have the heart of a lion and the patience of a kingfisher. The young listen, nodding their heads, for they, too, will soon face the music of the market, the whispers of the wind, and the choices that will shape their destinies. And yet, despite the losses, Hausa trade endured. The system adapted. Written contracts began to appear, sometimes in Arabic, giving debts a paper trail harder to deny. Kinship networks spread across cities, where cousins and uncles vouched for payments, and family honor stood as collateral. Religion, too, was invoked. A man who broke an oath before God risked not only shame but eternal consequence. And so the rhythm of life continued. As seasons turned into decades, traders kept moving, carrying their hopes and dreams on the backs of their camels. They adapted to the whims of the market, the moods of monarchs, and the frailties of human nature. For within this tapestry of triumphs and tribulations, losses and lessons, there runs a deeper thread. A testament to the indomitable spirit of humanity. Time marched on, measured by the steady pulse of caravans traversing the sands. Seasons came and went, each bringing its own melody to the market. And with each cycle, the Hausa traders evolved, learning, adapting, enduring. Their world was a mosaic of cultures, a fusion of Berber, Tuareg, Kanuri, and Songhai influences held together by the unifying threads of Islam and trade. In this vibrant setting, the caravanserai wasn't just a place of rest. It was a melting pot of languages, customs, and merchandise. Here, Tuareg storytellers wove tales of the desert, while Kanuri metalworkers displayed their wares alongside Songhai textiles. The air buzzed with the energy of countless encounters, each contributing to the rich tapestry of the Hausa experience. And then there was the music. Oh, the music that echoed through the courtyard, stirring the soul and resonating with the very essence of their existence. Drum beats reverberated with the heartbeat of the earth, while flutes sang melodies as timeless as the desert winds. The sound of a lute could cut through the air like a shard of sunlight, illuminating the depth of human emotion. Music was more than entertainment. It was a language in itself, expressing joys and sorrows, dreams and aspirations, fears and triumphs. In the evenings, the courtyard transformed into a celestial canvas. With the Milky Way arching overhead, the vastness of the cosmos served as a constant reminder of their place in the grand scheme of existence. Beneath this celestial dome, the boundaries of ethnicity, language, and tribe seemed to fade, leaving only a sense of shared wonder and the quiet murmur of prayers whispered into the infinite expanse. This was the world of the Hausa, a world that thrived on the rhythms of trade, the melodies of music, and the eternal dialogue between humanity and the stars. Their story is an ode to resilience, a testament to the enduring spirit of those who navigated the treacherous seas and scorching deserts in search of fortune and glory. From the legendary cities of Timbuktu and Carthage to the bustling markets of Cairo and Constantinople, their footprints are etched into the annals of history. But their legacy transcends mere geographical markers. It's woven into the very fabric of the societies they encountered. For instance, the Berbers, with their deep connection to the land and mastery of local crafts, left an indelible mark on the regions they explored. Their vibrant textiles, intricate jewelry, and masterful wood carvings became cherished elements of local artistry, reflecting their nomadic spirit and profound respect for nature's wonders. As we continue our journey, let us reflect on the vital role these intrepid explorers played in shaping our world. Their spirit of adventure and thirst for knowledge serve as a beacon, reminding us of the boundless potential that lies within humanity's uncharted territories. Let us now turn our attention to the heart of the Hausa world, the great city of Kano. Nestled in the vast expanse of northern Nigeria, Kano was more than just a city. It was a vibrant hub where cultures intertwined and fortunes were made. Imagine strolling through its bustling markets, where the air was thick with the aroma of exotic spices and the chatter of merchants from distant lands. The rhythmic clang of blacksmiths echoed through the narrow alleyways, mingling with the melodies of wandering musicians. Here, the tangible and the intangible, goods and stories, merged seamlessly, creating an atmosphere that was both lively and enchanting. But Kano was more than just a commercial center. It was a crucible of ideas, a place where travelers from across the Sahara shared tales of distant kingdoms and marvel. Within its protective walls, Islam flourished, giving rise to great mosques and madrasas that not only served as centers of worship, but also beacons of learning. The Jamia Kano, with its towering minarets reaching for the heavens, stands as a symbol of the city's enduring legacy. And as we explore the rich tapestry of Hausa culture, let us not forget the men who steered these magnificent ships, the sailors whose courage knew no bounds. From the daring feats of Mansa Abubakar II to the legendary voyages of Mansa Musa, their names echo through time as symbols of human daring and the relentless pursuit of exploration. Mansa Abubakar II, the visionary ruler of the Mali Empire, embarked on a remarkable pilgrimage to the legendary city of Mecca. His epic journey across the Sahara Desert, a feat of endurance and determination, forever cemented his place in history. Similarly, Mansa Musa's unparalleled expeditions to the Atlantic coast showcased the Mali Empire's reach and ushered in a new era of maritime exploration. These intrepid explorers didn't just chart unknown waters, they shattered the boundaries of what was thought possible, proving that with unwavering determination, the seemingly impossible could become reality. As we delve deeper into the captivating world of the Hausa, let us take a moment to appreciate the contributions of these extraordinary individuals whose thirst for adventure and insatiable curiosity shaped not only the course of history, but also the very perception of what humans can achieve. And so, dear viewers, our journey through time continues. And as we navigate the twists and turns of history, let us carry with us the spirit of adventure, the thirst for knowledge, and the courage to explore the unknown that these intrepid explorers embodied. The markets of Houseland were not only places where goods exchanged hands, they were breathing hearts of entire societies, pulsing with rhythm, song, prayer, and dispute. A market was as sacred as it was practical, a stage where trade, faith, and daily life intertwined until they were inseparable. Every Hausa city had its market square, but the great centers Kano, Kachisina, Zaria became legendary. Stalls spread like rivers of color, where bolts of indigo cloth gleamed against the dust. Piles of dried fish and grains perfumed the air, and traders' voices rose in waves. Women balanced gourds and baskets, their laughter cutting through the bargaining chants. Griots and drummers performed at the edges, weaving music into commerce, reminding all that trade was as much ritual as calculation. Imagine yourself in such a bustling scene. Let's begin here. I am honored to be your guide. Today we embark on a journey back to the vibrant heartlands of Houseland in the 18th century. Our destination is the legendary Kano, a city whose fame as a trading hub echoed across the Sahara. But our true focus lies within its bustling center, the iconic market. As we traverse the labyrinth of stalls and shoppers, let's pause to consider what sets these markets apart from mere places of trade. Here, in the heart of the Hausa world, commerce and culture are not merely intertwined, they are inseparable. Every interaction, every exchange is colored by centuries of tradition, religion, and social life. And it's this rich tapestry that makes exploring the Kano market more than just a journey through time. It's a deep dive into a society where every aspect of life is saturated with meaning. So as the sun climbs higher in the sky, casting long shadows across the indigo cloth piled high on weathered mats, let's delve deeper into the layers of life that make this market the beating heart of Houseland. First, we must understand that these markets weren't just economic hubs. They were the lifeblood of social interaction. As we wander through the maze of stalls, let's picture the rhythmic dance of bartering that unfolds before us. Each interaction is a melody played out between merchants and customers. The vendors, many with their faces hidden behind colorful Cuba textiles, are more than just sellers. They are storytellers, news carriers, and advisors. Their weathered hands, calloused from years of trade, are not just tools of commerce, but instruments that shape the very fabric of their society. In this lively setting, trade is a conversation, an exchange of not just goods, but of tales from distant lands and whispers of events that ripple across the empire. It's not uncommon for men to arrive from the Sahara bearing precious salt, only to depart with the lush cola nuts hailing from the distant forests of the south, all within the confines of a single market square. Imagine the energy, the pulse of 1,000 stories converging in a single space. This is more than a market. It's a testament to the interconnectedness of the Hausa world. A microcosm of a vast network that stretches from desert to forest. But our journey through the market reveals more than just the mechanics of trade. As we move deeper into the bustling center, let's turn our attention to the sounds that weave their way into the very fabric of commerce. Music, it seems, is not merely a backdrop here, but an integral part of the market's soul. Listen closely, and you'll hear the rhythmic pulse of drums echoing across the square. These are not just instruments, they're storytellers in their own right. The drums have their own language, a vocabulary of sound that speaks of joys and sorrows, triumphs and challenges, all woven into the tapestry of daily life. Then there's the chanting, a harmonious blend of languages that reflects the diversity of the Hausa world. Merchants calling out the virtues of their wares, customers responding in kind, their voices rising and falling in a symphony of trade. And above it all, the resonant tones of griots, the keepers of history, and praise singers whose songs immortalize the deeds of great men and elevate the everyday into the epic. Can you feel the energy surging through these sounds? Here, in the heart of the market, music is not just entertainment, it's an essential part of the trading ritual, a means of capturing the essence of the marketplace. It's a celebration of life, of community, and of the enduring spirit of trade. However, the heart of the Hausa market beats not just to the rhythm of trade and music, but to the steady pulse of religion. Amidst the vibrant chaos of commerce, one can find moments of profound stillness. The call to prayer echoes across the market square, momentarily silencing the din of trade. In response, vendors lower their wares, creating an aisle towards the nearest mosque. United in faith, they stand shoulder to shoulder, their faces turned towards Mecca. This shared devotion isn't just a religious practice. It's a reminder of the values that bind this community together, a testament to the centrality of faith in every aspect of their lives. Even the act of buying and selling is infused with religious significance. Before the transactions begin, the air is filled with the recitation of prayers, a ritual designed to ensure honesty and fairness in trade. Each interaction becomes a prayer for mutual benefit, a plea for the transaction to be a source of sustenance and growth for both buyer and seller. This sacred dimension is further emphasized by the presence of elders, respected figures who serve as mediators in case of disputes. They don't just settle arguments, they dispense wisdom and justice, ensuring that the market remains a place of order and harmony. But amidst the bustle of trade and the rhythm of prayer, there's another facet of the Hausa market that demands our attention: the social contracts that shape destinies. Beyond the exchange of goods and services, markets are arenas where lives intertwine. Marriages are arranged, families grow, and destinies converge. Young men eyeing prospective brides might display their finest cloths, hoping to catch the attention of a potential mother-in-law. Meanwhile, travelers share tales of distant kingdoms, bringing the world to the doorstep of the market. Even the humble purchase of cloth or salt might come with an added blessing, a charm ensuring protection against misfortune. Such is the depth of the Hausa market. It's not just a place of commerce, it's a crucible of social interactions, a space where individual lives are woven into the larger fabric of the community. Within this bustling marketplace, where the scent of kola nut mingles with the earthy aroma of dried fish, where vendors hawk their wares in lilting Hausa and the rhythmic pulse of drums underscores the symphony of trade, we find ourselves immersed in more than just a market. We are at the heart of Hausa life. Every transaction, every interaction is steeped in tradition, faith, and the promise of community. The Hausa market is a microcosm of their world, reflecting the depth, complexity, and beauty of a civilization that thrives on the strength of its people and the rhythm of their lives. The Hausa markets were not islands. They were bridges, delicate but enduring threads that tied entire empires together. In the hum of a Kono market or the bustle of Kachina Square, one could feel the distant sands of Mali, the echo of Songhai's might, and the shadow of Kanembornu's kings. Every sack of salt, every bundle of indigo cloth, every gourd of kola nuts whispered of a journey across borders and deserts. For trade routes were arteries through which lifeblood surged, sustaining not just the body of the marketplace, but the soul of entire empires. Each caravan that arrived was like a moving town, stretching in long lines of camels, their padded feet thudding softly against the desert floor. The caravans from the north came bearing treasures from distant lands. Salt mined in the harsh sun of the Sahara arrived in white slabs as precious as gold. With it came copper, glass beads, fine horses, and new ideas. For the desert was not only a road for goods, but for faith and knowledge. Imams and clerics traveled beside merchants, carrying Quranic verses and legal traditions, seeding them into Hausa soil. It was during the reign of Askeya the Great in the 15th century that Songhai really extended its influence into the western Sudan. Askia's General Muhammad Turi conquered territories of the ancient Mali Empire and other kingdoms, including the Hausa city-states, bringing them under the Songhai rule. This conquest marked a significant turning point as the Hausa people found themselves linked to the vast network of the Songhai Empire. As trade flourished under the Songhai, so did the exchange of cultural ideas. Muslim scholars and traders from North Africa settled among the Hausa, introducing them to new religious practices and legal traditions. Meanwhile, Gruiats, the storytellers and musicians of the Hausa, absorbed tales of the empire's grandeur and wove them into their songs, keeping the memory of the past alive. After Askia's death, the Songhai Empire started to crumble due to internal conflicts and external pressures, which led to the decline of its hold over the Western Sudan. Despite the loss of direct imperial rule, the impact of the Songhai on the Hausa remained profound. They had become an integral part of the larger West African society. And when the Songhai Empire eventually collapsed, its demise was intertwined with the Hausa's own struggles and triumphs. And so, with each caravan that arrived from the north, the Hausa markets were enriched with the flavors of distant lands, not just in their goods, but in their faith and learning. And from the south, another current flowed. Kola nuts, the bitter seeds treasured for their power to keep men awake on long journeys, to sweeten conversation, and to seal promises. These nuts traveled in baskets, balanced on heads, guarded along jungle paths, carried northward until they reached the market squares of Hausaland. There they met the salt from the north in a silent exchange. No gold was needed here. Custom was the currency, mutual need the bond. For in this arid and forested embrace, two necessities of life found their complement. Salt kept the body from peril of thirst. Kola warded off slumber, making long journeys bearable. So the Kola nut kingdoms of the south and the salt lords of the Sahara met not as rivals, but as partners in a dance as old as time. In the markets, Kola became more than trade. They became a social ritual, a way to cement alliances and soothe disputes, just as salt became the measure of survival. When disputes arose, elders would step in, their words carrying the weight of ages. Disputes over kola or salt became metaphors for life's journey, with each grievance eased or settled, echoing the importance of both commodities. The kola nut like a life force, bitter yet essential, and the salt preserving life's flavors, its hardships and joys. In the bustling markets, the very air thrummed with the pulse of distant lands. Merchants from the north, bronzed and lean as the desert they traversed, haggled over prices in the lilting cadence of Arabic, their turbans wrapped tightly against the dust, their eyes keen as they weighed each bar of copper or strand of indigo cloth. And from the south, traders emerged from the emerald embrace of the forests, their bodies adorned with tattoos like tribal maps, their speech a melody of indigenous tongues interwoven with the rhythm of the drums. Each had journeyed for months, navigating scorching sands or dense foliage, driven by the hope of profit and the promise of distant markets. It was in these squares that empires truly met. Mali's gold crossed hands with Kanem-Bornu's horses, while Songhai scholars exchanged wisdom with Hausa clerics beneath the shade of acacia trees. The market was not only commerce, it was diplomacy in motion, a quiet parliament of traders, griots, and spiritual men. Here the ebb and flow of goods mirrored the rise and fall of empires, and in the spaces between transactions, destinies intertwined, shaping the course of West African history. Knowledge flowed as richly as goods. Scholars arrived carrying manuscripts and oral traditions, teaching law, astronomy, and history in the pauses between trade. Under the dappled shade of acacia trees, they engaged in lively debates, discussing the intricacies of Islamic jurisprudence, the teachings of saints, and the mysteries of the cosmos. These scholars, often returning from pilgrimages to centers of learning like Timbuktu or Cairo, brought with them not just books, but a thirst for understanding. They sought to unravel the complexities of the universe, guided by the teachings of the Quran and the legacy of Muslim scholars who had come before them. Griots sang epic poems of distant rulers, reminding listeners that they were part of a greater story stretching across deserts and rivers. With rhythmic precision, they narrated the deeds of legendary hunters, the exploits of valiant warriors, the wisdom of revered judges, and the rise and fall of empires, keeping alive the echoes of the past. These stories weren't just entertainment. They were a tapestry that wove individuals into the fabric of history, emphasizing their roles and contributions to the collective narrative. In this way, the market was also a school, a library, a theater of memory. The very stones of the marketplace bore witness to these gatherings, absorbing the hopes, dreams, and debates of generations past. The spirit of learning lingered in the shadows cast by acacia trees, a silent testament to the intellectual ferment that once animated these spaces, and even disputes became lessons. When traders quarreled over weights or prices, elders would step in, invoking laws drawn not only from Hausa custom, but from wider Islamic jurisprudence. A ruling in the marketplace, therefore, could echo the authority of Timbuktu's scholars or Bornu's courts, tying small disputes to vast intellectual lineages. The Hausa markets were thus not just places of commerce, but crucibles of cultural exchange. Here, trade and tradition, scholarship and song, all converged to shape the identity of Hausaland, leaving an indelible mark on the course of West African history. To stand in the heart of a Hausa market, then, was to stand at a crossroads of empires. It was a space where geography collapsed, where the salt of Tagaza met the kola of the forest, where the knowledge of Timbuktu touched the prayers of Kano, where the voices of griots carried the pulse of history across boundaries. These markets were not just economic engines, they were the lifeblood of West Africa's unity. Imagine stepping into a world where the air is thick with the aroma of exotic spices, where the rhythmic calls of vendors blend with the chatter of diverse customers, and where each corner echoes with stories as old as the empires themselves. This is the Hausa market, more than just a place to buy and sell. It's the pulse of the community, the heartbeat of Hausa society. As the sun begins its ascent, painting the sky in hues of gold and crimson, the market stirs to life. The first rays of sunlight touch the stalls, gently awakening them from their slumber. And in this quiet dawn, you witness a sight that speaks volumes about the deep-rooted traditions of the Hausa people. Here, traders in their colorful robes kneel briefly, not in submission, but in reverence. They kneel before opening their stalls, their faces turned towards Mecca in silent prayer. Their lips move, though no sound escapes. Their words are carried aloft on invisible wings, rising to meet the heavens. It's a moment of tranquility, a pause in the chaos that's soon to come, a time when the hum of activity is replaced by the murmur of devotion. They ask for honesty in their dealings, for blessings upon their wares, and for the strength to uphold the principles that have guided generations of Hausa merchants. As the prayer ends, the traders rise, their movements as graceful as the rising sun. Their stalls come to life, unfurling like a merchant's map of the world, displaying their goods for the day. The Hausa market is not just a marketplace. It's an arena of commerce, yes, but it's also a microcosm of the wider society, reflecting its values, beliefs, and traditions. Take a closer look at the stalls laden with spices, fabrics, and crafts. each item telling a silent story of its own. There are piles of cola nuts, their shells gleaming like polished bone, whispering tales of faraway lands. Baskets overflow with grains, each grain a testament to the bounty of the earth. Colorful beads and intricate jewelry glisten under the morning sun, hinting at the artistry that thrives within the community. And then there are the apprentices, the young minds watching their elders not just trading, but engaging in what is essentially a moral and spiritual exercise. They learn that commerce is not just about buying and selling. It's about maintaining a delicate balance between self-interest and communal responsibility. Every action, every interaction is imbued with layers of meaning that go beyond the immediate exchange of goods. The Hausa market is a living archive, a repository of history brought to life by the storytellers, the griots who weave tales as old as time. Imagine sitting in the shade of a baobab tree, the air around you heavy with the scent of wood smoke and roasting peanuts. You're surrounded by an audience, a diverse tapestry of villagers, merchants, and travelers, all eager to hear the stories that have echoed through generations. And then there's the elder, his eyes crinkled at the corners from a lifetime of smiles, and his voice a soothing balm that eases the hardships of travel. He speaks of ancient empires, of legendary heroes, and of ordinary people who faced extraordinary challenges. His voice resonates with the wisdom of ages, each word carrying the weight of history. He talks about Mansa Musa, the great emperor who once ruled over vast territories, spreading his influence like a painter's brush across a canvas. Or he might speak of the legendary warrior queen Amina, her exploits forever etched in the annals of Hausa folklore. These stories aren't just entertainment. They're moral compasses guiding the listeners on the paths of life. They're woven with lessons, cautionary tales that warn and inspire, reminding the Hausa people of their rich heritage and the values that have stood the test of time. It's a tradition that ensures that history isn't just remembered. It's lived, breathed, and passed down to future generations. And where better a place to do this than the vibrant, bustling heart of their communities, the market. But the Hausa market is not just a stage for storytellers. It's also a place where the spiritual and the practical intertwine in a delicate dance. Here, before any transaction is made, before any goods are exchanged, there's an unspoken understanding, an acknowledgement of the unseen forces that govern their lives. Picture this, a young Hausa trader, his stall adorned with colorful cloths and precious jewelry. He's not just a businessman, he's a custodian of ethics, a believer in a world where commerce and faith go hand in hand. In his mind, honesty is not just a virtue, it's a spiritual act. To cheat or deceive is not just to tarnish one's reputation, it's to invite misfortune, not only upon oneself, but upon the market as a whole. He might consult a diviner, a specialist in unraveling the mysteries of the spiritual realm, to ensure that his dealings are under the watchful eyes of protective spirits. Or he might carry a small charm, a tangible link to the invisible forces that guide his steps. These practices are not superstitions, but expressions of a deep-rooted belief system. They're ways to ensure that in the pursuit of profit, no one strays from the path of righteousness. Every sale, every interaction carries with it the weight of both profit and virtue. And so, the Hausa market becomes more than just a place of trade. It's a testament to the power of faith, a silent ode to the spirits that watch over the exchange of goods and the flow of trust between buyers and sellers. Now, let's bring the scene to life with a festival, a joyous explosion of color, sound, and tradition. Imagine the air alive with the rhythmic pulse of drums, the melody blending seamlessly with the excited chatter of the crowd. The stalls are adorned with festive finery, and the very air vibrates with anticipation. The Hausa people are renowned for their love of music and dance. And during festivals, the market square transforms into a grand theatre. Musicians and dancers weave magic with every note and every movement. Their art forms telling stories without words, expressing joy, sorrow, hope, and dreams. It could be a celebration of the harvest, a tribute to the bounty of the earth that sustains them. It could be a milestone in trade, a recognition of the hard-earned success achieved by the merchants. Or it could be a spiritual observance, a way of giving thanks to the divine for blessings received and for guidance through the challenges faced. During these times, the market square becomes a sea of vibrant colors, a kaleidoscope of traditional attire, each garment telling a silent story of its wearer. There are swirling patterns, bold designs, and intricate beadwork, all coming together in a harmonious display of cultural pride. And then there's the food, a symphony of scents and flavors that tantalize the taste buds and warm the soul. Special dishes are prepared, each bite carrying the essence of community, of shared joy and togetherness. It's a feast, not just for the palate, but for the spirit, a celebration of life in all its richness and abundance. Such festivals don't just entertain, they reinforce community ties, creating networks of trust that span villages, clans, and even regions. They're a reminder of the bonds that unite people, the shared experiences that transcend differences, and the common goals that drive them forward. Through music, dance, and shared rituals, the Hausa market evolves into a sanctuary of social cohesion, a place where commerce and community merge to create lasting memories. As the sun begins its descent, casting long shadows across the market square, the day's trade winds down. The energy shifts, the atmosphere changes, and the market takes on a different character. Now, instead of the hustle and bustle of buying and selling, there's a sense of camaraderie, a feeling of shared accomplishment. The traders, their faces etched with the day's experiences, gather under the shade of a large tree. It's not just a place to rest, it's a symbol of unity. A gathering place for those who have toiled under the sun, for those who have traded and traveled, for those who have shared stories and laughter. It's here, under the watchful gaze of the elders, that disputes are settled, not with anger or malice, but with wisdom and fairness. For the Hausa market is not just a place of commerce, it's a community, and with that comes responsibilities, obligations that bind people together through both good times and bad. And so, when disagreements arise, it's the elders who step forward, their voices resonating with the weight of experience, their words carrying the echoes of generations past. They become judges, mediators, ensuring that justice prevails, that fairness is upheld, and that the integrity of the community remains intact. It doesn't matter if it's a disagreement over prices, quality, or any other matter that divides two parties. The elders, respected for their age, their knowledge, and their integrity, work to reconcile differences and restore harmony. Their methods are rooted in tradition, often involving dialogue, compromise, and a deep understanding of the values that have sustained the Hausa people for centuries. In a world where markets are often seen as places of cutthroat competition, the Hausa market stands out. It's a place where spirituality, ethics, and community take center stage, where commerce and morality dance in perfect harmony, and where the spirit of cooperation prevails. It's a testament to the enduring power of tradition and the timeless wisdom of the Hausa people. As you reflect on the vibrant tapestry of the Hausa market, let the spirit of honesty, the power of storytelling, and the importance of community resonate within you. Remember the Hausa traders kneeling in prayer, the elders dispensing wisdom, and the festivals that celebrate life. For in the heart of a Hausa market beats the very soul of a civilization, reminding us all that trade is not just an exchange of goods, but an exchange of cultures, values, and dreams. Now, let's get into the symbolism and the spiritual importance of indigo. We know from our discussion that the deep blue of the cloth carried meaning beyond its beauty. It was believed to protect the wearer from harm and envy, and each fold of fabric was a whisper of ancestry, a living connection to those who had tended the indigo plants and mastered the dye baths before them. But what does this tell us about how they traded these special clothes? Well, the very nature of the cloth, its spiritual potency, would have influenced how it was traded. Imagine a world where clothing isn't just fashion, but a shield against harm, a link to your ancestors, and a symbol of your place in society. That's the world the Hausa inhabited. In such a context, trading indigo wouldn't just be a transaction. It would be a careful negotiation of meanings, values, and even taboos. Think about when you wear something special for an important occasion. Maybe it's a suit for a job interview, or a dress for a first date. You don't just think about looking good. You think about how that outfit represents you, your style, your personality, your beliefs. Now imagine that outfit is not just clothes, but a tangible link to your family history, a protective charm, or a symbol of your faith. That's the kind of emotional and spiritual weight these textiles held for the Hausa. So trading them would involve more than just the exchange of goods. It would be an exchange of stories, values, and identities. Let's now consider the role of secrecy surrounding the dyeing process. The secrecy itself hints at the value placed on these textiles. It suggests that they weren't just everyday wear, but held a certain mystique, a magic that set them apart. This mystique would have been part of their allure in the marketplace, making them all the more desirable and lending them an air of luxury. It's like if your favorite football team had a secret, unbeatable play that they never revealed to other teams. Everyone would want to know what that play was, what made it so special, and it would add to the team's mystique and appeal. Same with the indigo dyeing techniques. Their secrecy added to the value and appeal of the finished product. So already we can see how the spiritual significance and the mystique surrounding the indigo dyeing process influenced the way these textiles were traded. They weren't just pieces of cloth, they were carriers of meaning, identity, and even power. But what does this tell us about their use in long-distance trade? The fact that indigo textiles held such deep meaning and value within Houseland suggests that they were likely to be sought after beyond Houseland too. After all, if something is special and unique, people outside of the community will likely want to acquire it. Think about how many tourists visit places like the Sahara to experience its unique beauty, or how many people seek out tribal crafts from different cultures. People are naturally drawn to what is rare, meaningful, and different. And that brings us to the question of supply and demand. If the indigo textiles were highly valued within Houseland, then it's likely that merchants from other regions would have learned about them and started to demand them. Just like how coffee shops will pay more for rare high-quality coffee beans, merchants would be willing to pay a premium for these special indigo textiles. But it wasn't just about the color or the symbolism. The quality of the textiles themselves would have played a big role in their desirability. Remember how in part 2 we talked about the meticulous process of creating these textiles, how the fibers had to be spun finely, patterns carefully applied, and the dyeing done with precision. Well, that level of craftsmanship would have been another factor driving demand. People aren't just buying a piece of cloth. They're buying a masterpiece, a testament to human skill and creativity. This leads us to another important point. The creation of these indigo textiles was not just a craft, it was an art form. Each piece was a unique work of art, a reflection of the weaver's skill and creativity. This uniqueness makes the textiles more interesting, more valuable, and more desirable. It's similar to how people collect limited edition artwork or designer fashion items. These items are more than just useful objects. They're investments, status symbols, and conversation pieces. In the same way, the uniqueness of indigo textiles would have made them attractive to collectors and connoisseurs, driving up demand and making them sought-after items in long-distance trade. And finally, the durability of the textiles would have been another crucial factor. After all, these were meant to be worn for special occasions. They weren't everyday clothes. They were investment pieces meant to last. Durability means the textiles could withstand the rigors of travel, storage, and use, making them ideal for long-distance trade. Unlike perishable goods, which can spoil or decay during transport, these textiles could be stored, transported, and traded over long distances without significant degradation. The combination of spiritual meaning, meticulous craftsmanship, rarity, and durability made these indigo textiles ideal for long-distance trade. Their value went beyond their practical use as clothing, making them attractive to merchants and traders seeking valuable and sought-after goods. This explains why these textiles were found in distant markets, and why they were used as a medium of exchange in long-distance economic networks. Now let's move on to the creative process behind these stunning textiles. Young Hausa apprentices weave cotton on a wooden loom, guided by the calm instructions of elders. Nearby, rows of intricately decorated textiles hang as silent spectators, each fold whispering tales of time and tradition. The rhythmic clack of the loom fills the air as nimble fingers fly across the threads, creating patterns that have echoed through generations. It's a scene that speaks of patience, strength, and unwavering focus. The work of a weaver is not for the impatient. It demands a quiet strength, a harmony between the body and the tool, and a mind that can anticipate the consequences of each pull, each knot. It's a profession that has nurtured a community of resilient, artistic individuals who transform simple threads into tapestries of resilience and beauty. Take a closer look at the hands. They move with the precision of seasoned artisans, each movement a testament to years of practice and dedication. The loom is more than just a machine to them. It's an extension of their bodies, a partner in their creative dance. The weavers, with their calloused hands and sharp eyes, are the architects of these vibrant realities. They take raw materials and, through sheer skill and determination, turn them into works of art. As you watch the weavers at work, you realize that each piece they create is more than just fabric. It's a reflection of their spirit, their identity, and their bond with their ancestors. Every thread is a link to a rich heritage, every pattern a story waiting to be told. And as the sun sets over Houseland, casting long shadows across the work of the day, you understand that you have witnessed not just weaving, but a celebration of life, tradition, and the enduring spirit of humanity. The markets of Houseland were not isolated pockets of commerce. They were nodes in a sprawling network of trade that stretched across West Africa. Caravans of camels and pack horses carried bolts of indigo-dyed cloth north to the deserts, south to the forests, and east to the Niger Bend. Each journey was fraught with danger. Sandstorms, bandits, and river crossings challenged merchants at every turn. Yet the reward was immense. Access to distant markets, rare goods, and the prestige of trusted trade. As we've seen before, the Hausa people specialized in producing these beautiful indigo-dyed textiles, which were highly sought after throughout the region. So their merchants would set out on long journeys, braving the elements and the perils of the road to bring these vibrant bolts of cloth to faraway lands. But what happens next is where things get really interesting. The exchange of these textiles was as much about human networks as about the merchandise. Knowledge of routes, seasonal timing, and safe havens was carefully guarded. Traders relied on reputation and unspoken agreements. A nod, a folded cloth, a measured weight, signaling honesty and trustworthiness. This tacit understanding allowed for a silent bargain that transcended spoken words. It was a testament to the character of the merchant and the integrity of his wares. Imagine, if you will, the scene at a bustling marketplace, the air thick with the scent of spices and leather. A Hausa merchant, weathered by years of travel, lays out his bolts of indigo cloth, each one a masterpiece of color and texture. His weathered hands trace the patterns as he engages in a silent bargain with a customer from the distant forest markets. Their interaction is a dance of gestures and subtle nods, a testament to the trust that has been established over months of trade. It's a world where honesty is the best policy, and a handshake seals the deal. And it wasn't just about the goods. These routes carried stories, prayers, and rituals. Travelers recited blessings to ensure protection from the spirits of the desert and rivers. Indigo, with its deep spiritual resonance, was believed to carry luck, protection, and even secret messages between trading families. A bolt of cloth could thus embody both material and sacred power. Picture this. A caravan resting at twilight beside a river, the setting sun painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. As the travelers prepare for the night, they unfold their indigo textiles beneath the vast expanse of stars, each fold revealing a message from their ancestors. These silent exchanges were more than just transactions. They were threads in a tapestry of culture, weaving together communities across the vast expanse of West Africa. In this episode, we're going to explore how Hausaland's merchants didn't just navigate physical landscapes, they charted a course through a sea of human interactions, each encounter adding a new thread to the rich tapestry of West African trade. They built their silent language of trust and understanding, ensuring that their caravans moved safely across the vast distances. But the story doesn't end there. Along these routes, there were moments of peril and uncertainty, instances when the very survival of a caravan hung in the balance. And yet, through it all, the Hausa demonstrated an uncanny ability to adapt, to negotiate, and to persevere. Imagine a caravan traversing the unforgiving Sahara, the relentless sun beating down on the camels as they trek across the golden dunes. Suddenly, a sandstorm erupts, threatening to bury the travelers and their precious cargo of indigo cloth beneath tons of shifting sand. Amidst the swirling chaos, the merchants, drawing upon their deep knowledge of the desert, make split-second decisions that could mean the difference between life and death. They adjust their course, seeking shelter in the lee of a dune, or perhaps the shade of a solitary baobab tree. Here, they wait, holding fast to their traditions, sharing stories around a small fire to keep both body and spirits strong until the storm subsides. This is a test of endurance, a battle against the very elements, but the Hausa are prepared. Their respect for the natural world, their understanding of its rhythms, and their willingness to adapt have once again proven invaluable. Or picture this, the caravan approaching a river, its waters swollen and angry from recent rains. The crossing is fraught with peril, the currents swift and unpredictable, threatening to sweep away the unwary. Yet the Hausa, with their intimate knowledge of the land, assess the situation calmly. Some choose to lighten the load, unloading valuable goods onto their heads and bracing themselves for the turbulent journey across. Others opt for a more cautious approach, tying together their beasts and forming a human chain to ensure that neither man nor merchandise is lost to the raging waters. Such challenges were not merely physical, they were also political. Along the routes, treaties, taxes, and the whims of local rulers could shift suddenly, disrupting trade and putting merchants in precarious positions. Yet Hausa, skilled in the art of reading the subtlest signals, found ways to navigate these changes without drawing attention. Imagine a caravan arriving at a market town only to discover a change in leadership since their last visit. The new ruler, eager to assert authority, demands higher taxes or different trading terms, challenging the established order that the Hausa merchants have relied upon. In such situations, a skilled trader wouldn't resist openly. Instead, they would quietly adapt. Perhaps they would reduce their manifest, altering the quantities listed to avoid scrutiny without significantly affecting the actual goods carried. Or maybe they would shift their wares, subtly intermingling their indigo textiles with other merchandise to create a less conspicuous bundle. Such tactics weren't about deception, but about resilience, a testament to the Hausa adaptability in the face of changing circumstances. This flexibility was not a sign of weakness, but of strength, allowing them to stay one step ahead, ensuring that their precious indigo continued its journey across the vast expanse of West Africa. Merchants like Mansaman, who we've met earlier, would use their extensive knowledge of the land and its people to great effect. He knew, for instance, that a particular type of indigo, highly prized for its deep color and durability, was favored by the nobility in the distant forest markets. By incorporating this highly sought-after indigo into his caravan's cargo, Mansaman signaled his trustworthiness and raised the value of his entire shipment in the eyes of potential buyers. It wasn't just about the goods. It was about the silent language of trust and understanding that governed the vast network of trade stretching across West Africa. So, as we continue our journey along these ancient trade routes, let's take a moment to appreciate the resourcefulness and adaptability of these intrepid merchants. Their ability to navigate not just physical landscapes, but also the complexities of human interactions and the vagaries of politics was key to their success. Consider, for example, the caravan nearing a river crossing. The waters swollen from recent rains, the current swift and dangerous. The crossing is fraught with peril. Among the travelers is a young merchant named Aisha. She has heard tales of the river as capricious nature and knows that the safety of the entire caravan rests in part on her keen observation skills. Just as her father had taught her, she notices subtle signs in the river's behavior, the tilt of a reed, the flight of a bird, or the glisten of sunlight on the water's surface. Her instincts tell her that the crossing is not yet safe. And though no one can hear her over the roaring water, her actions speak volumes. Slowly, deliberately, she begins unloading bales of indigo cloth from the backs of the camels, placing them carefully on her head. One by one, the others follow her lead, transforming themselves into a human chain, a silent, determined line of figures moving in unison. Together they will cross when the time is right, their movements a testament to their shared understanding and respect for the forces of nature. Through moments of crisis and the quiet give and take of daily trade, the Hausa wove a rich tapestry of human connection. They built bridges of understanding across cultural divides, ensuring that the flow of indigo and the stories it carried continued uninterrupted. As we've seen, the Hausa didn't just move goods and materials. They were conduits of culture, weaving together distant communities through trade. Their routes were arteries of commerce, Their caravans, vessels of cultural exchange, carrying not just bolts of indigo cloth, but stories, prayers, and traditions that helped shape the rich heritage of West Africa. Their ability to navigate complex landscapes, whether physical or political, makes us wonder what other hidden histories might be buried within those silent bargains. What untold stories do the folds of these indigo textiles conceal? And as we look to the future, how can we better understand and appreciate the silent power of trade in shaping our world? These questions are more than just inquiries. They are invitations to see the world through the eyes of the Hausa merchants, to listen to the whispers of the past carried on the winds of the Sahara, and to recognize the enduring legacy of their silent diplomacy. In the ancient world, trade was a perilous adventure. Imagine you're a European merchant in the 14th century. You've got your ship loaded with silks and spices from Asia, and now you're sailing back home. But the journey is fraught with dangers. Storms can sink your ship, rival merchants might try to plunder your cargo, and even the ports you dock at could be hostile. For centuries, trading meant braving all these risks to connect distant markets. And if you made it through, you might find that your goods have lost value during your long absence, wiping out your profits. So the question is, what did people do to manage all this risk? How did they keep going when the odds were so stacked against them? Well, that's exactly what we'll explore today. We'll dive into how ancient people like the Hausa of West Africa coped with the uncertainties of trade. They had their own techniques and strategies that helped them navigate the hazards of the market and the elements. Stick around as we uncover the secrets they used to conquer the unpredictable world of ancient trade. Our story takes us to West Africa, specifically to the Hausa people who lived around the Great Niger River during the Middle Ages. The Hausa were known for their incredible skill in weaving and dyeing cloth, especially indigo. Indigo is a plant that yields a beautiful dark blue dye, which the Hausa used to turn ordinary cotton cloth into something truly special. They would trade this cloth far and wide, carrying their wares across rivers, deserts, and bustling markets. Now, you might think that selling cloth would be a pretty straightforward business, but trust me, it was anything but. There were all sorts of hazards that could befall a trader, from unpredictable weather to tricky partnerships and dangerous journeys. It was a risky endeavor that tested the skills and resilience of even the most seasoned merchants. For instance, let us imagine a Hausa merchant named Omar, who wants to trade his fine indigo cloth in a distant market. First, he has to navigate the mighty Niger River, a vital artery of trade in this region. The river was both a blessing and a curse. It provided a highway for traders, but it was also unpredictable and wild. Floods could swamp villages, capsize boats, and wash away entire markets. Droughts, on the other hand, could make the river too shallow for travel, forcing traders to find alternative routes or wait patiently for the rains to come. To make matters worse, the Niger wasn't just a peaceful waterway. It was a busy thoroughfare, shared by all kinds of people, some friendly and some not so much. There were fishermen casting their nets, farmers ferrying their crops, and rival merchants eager to sell their own wares. It was a constant game of chance, trying to predict who you'd encounter on the river and hoping for safe passage. As Omar sets off on his journey, he has to watch out for everything from sudden storms to rival merchants looking to make an easy profit by plundering his boat. It's a dangerous game, but the potential rewards are great. If he can navigate the river successfully, he might just strike a profitable deal in the distant market. However, even if he makes it to his destination safely, he still has to contend with the vagaries of the market. Will his cloth be in demand? Will the prices be favorable? Will he find trustworthy partners to help him sell his wares? These are just some of the uncertainties that await him. The solution to these problems lay in the realm of knowledge and preparation. Let's see how our intrepid Hausa merchants like Omar went about their business. First off, they had to have a solid understanding of their product. Indigo cloth was more than just a commodity for the Hausa. It was a symbol of their skill and artistry. They knew the nuances of the cloth, how to best care for it during transport, and how to present it in a way that would entice buyers. This deep knowledge not only helped them to preserve their goods, but also gave them a competitive edge. But understanding your product is only half the battle. You also need to know your market inside out. The Hausa merchants were experts at reading the signs, observing market trends, gauging demand, and anticipating supply. They built up extensive networks of informants who kept them up to date on everything happening in the world of trade. With this kind of market intelligence, they could make informed decisions about where to sell, when to sell, and how much to charge. Knowledge of the route was equally important. The Hausa merchants were well versed in the geography of their trading areas. They knew the best routes to take, the safest places to stop along the way, and how to avoid potential hazards. This kind of expertise not only helps them to stay safe, but also ensured that their goods arrived at their destination in top condition. Of course, no discussion of trade in ancient times would be complete without acknowledging the role of religion and the supernatural. For the Hausa, religion was an integral part of their daily lives, and they believed that their success in trade depended not just on their own efforts, but also on the goodwill of the spirits. They would often perform small rituals before setting out on a journey, asking for protection and guidance from the gods. They might offer prayers, libations, or sacrifices, and they would also carry protective charms with them on their travels. These religious beliefs and practices weren't just a matter of faith. They were also a way of coping with the inherent uncertainty of trade. By appeasing the spirits, the Hausa merchants hoped to minimize the risks and increase their chances of success. One particularly fascinating aspect of Hausa trade was the use of secret codes and gestures. These subtle signals were an essential part of doing business in a world where trust was hard to come by and deception was commonplace. The Hausa merchants developed a sophisticated system of nonverbal communication that allowed them to convey important information without tipping off their competitors. For example, they might use specific hand movements or particular patterns of clothing to signal their identity to potential buyers. They also used coded language to discuss prices and other important details, ensuring that their rivals couldn't capitalize on their bargaining strategies. These secret codes and gestures weren't just a clever way of doing business. They were also a testament to the ingenuity and adaptability of the Hausa people. In a world where trust was scarce, they created their own methods of ensuring security and protecting their interests. The economics of Hausa indigo trade were inseparable from the cultural and spiritual fabric of society. Each decision, whether about routes, partners, or timing, reflected a delicate balance between human skill, environmental hazards, and reverence for unseen forces. The river and the market judged each trader, rewarding wisdom and punishing carelessness. As you can see, the Hausa merchants were masters of their trade, but they didn't achieve this mastery overnight. It took years of experience, a deep understanding of their craft, and an unwavering commitment to their business. Their success was the result of generations of accumulated knowledge passed down from one generation of traders to the next. They understood the importance of preserving their cultural heritage while adapting to the changing demands of the market. They also knew how to harness the power of community and cooperation to overcome the challenges of trade. So the next time you put on a piece of indigo cloth, Take a moment to appreciate the rich history and cultural significance behind this humble commodity. Remember the skilled hands that wove the threads, the daring merchants who braved the perils of the trade routes, and the ancient traditions that have kept this craft alive for centuries. The river was both a lifeline and a judge. Its bounty sustained them, yet its mood was as fickle as the sky. Fishermen, seasoned by years on the water, commanded respect. Their muscular arms strained against heavy nets, hauling in silver flashes of fish from the river's heart. Their knowledge of currents and eddies, of birds and beasts, gave them an authority born of experience. Before the sun touched the horizon, they were up, maneuvering their small canoes through the labyrinthine channels. Their world was one of peril and patience, of battling crocodiles and schools of ravenous piranhas, of sudden whirlpools that threatened to swallow a man whole. Yet even the fisherman's hard-won authority was balanced by spiritual oversight. Along this mighty river, the priests and diviners held sway. Their closeness to the river spirits granted them a kind of otherworldly knowledge. When to fish, where to fish, what to offer, and how to appease the river's capricious whims. To ignore their counsel was to court disaster. A sudden drought, a depleted catch, or worse, illness and misfortune. So every full moon, before the fishermen cast their nets, they came bearing gifts. Food, carefully selected herbs, or small carved figures symbolizing the community's hopes and fears. These offerings, left along the riverbank, were a plea and a promise, a way of saying, "We take from you and offer back. We seek your favor and heed your signs." These men, their bodies adorned with ritual scarifications, their voices resonating with ancient chants, were intermediaries between two worlds, the seen and the unseen. They wove incantations as they threw in the offerings, each word designed to reach the spirit dwelling in the depths. The villagers watched in reverence, their faces illuminated by flickering lantern light, their bodies swaying in time with the priest's rhythmic movements. It was a dance as old as the river itself, a silent dialogue between humanity and nature, between the known and the unknown. But it wasn't just the priests who shaped life along the river. The chiefs held sway too, their authority rooted in tradition and kinship, yet honed by the practicalities of survival. In their hands, the distribution of fishing rights and the regulation of trade became tools of power. Under their watchful eyes, the market thrived, a hub where the day's catch was bartered for cloth, beads, and other necessities. Here, the abundance of the river met the diversity of desires, creating a vibrant exchange that fueled the heart of the village. Their authority, however, extended beyond the marketplace. When a canoe returned with tales of a hidden snag claiming another victim, the chief would summon the men of the village. Decisions were made, often guided by precedent and custom, but always aimed at maintaining order and protecting the vulnerable. Sometimes it meant diverting labor to clear the path. Sometimes it meant sending out a delegation to negotiate with the spirit of the snag. Whatever the task, the chief's word was law, binding the villagers together as they faced the challenges posed by the unpredictable river. Now, let's pause here for a moment. The river flows silently, reflecting the soft glow of lanterns. We can hear the gentle murmur of water as decisions are made, lives intersect, and authority is exercised without words. The rhythm of the river dictates much. Fishermen must rise before dawn to beat the heat and the lurking dangers. Priests have their calendars marked by lunar cycles, ensuring offerings are made on time. And chiefs, well, their responsibilities know no schedule. They must be ready when wisdom is needed, when disputes arise, or when the very course of the river demands attention. A skilled fisherman navigates the river with grace, knowing its twists and turns, its moods, and its messages. But even he respects the boundaries set by the priests. A bountiful catch doesn't justify ignoring the rituals. For the river's bounty comes with a price. A reminder that nature's abundance is never without consequence. Similarly, the chief's authority, vast as it may seem, has its limits. He cannot defy the priest's interpretations, nor can he alter the rhythms set by the river's flow. Even in his grand hall, the sound of the river is never far away, a constant reminder of the forces that shape their lives. And yet, within this structure, there's room for individual brilliance. A young fisherman, keen-eyed and swift of limb, might earn renown for landing a particularly tricky fish or navigating a treacherous stretch of water. His name then becomes linked with the river's lore, his deeds forming part of the oral histories that bind generations. Likewise, a chief's daughter, versed in both domestic and political matters, might mediate a dispute with uncommon insight or propose a new trading alliance with a neighboring village. Her acumen, nurtured by years of observation and participation, transforms her into a valuable advisor, challenging conventional roles and enriching the tapestry of village life. Here's a thought. If the river is the heart of the village, then those who work on it, the fishermen, the priests, and the chiefs, are the veins that carry its lifeblood to every corner. They are the conduits of its power, the interpreters of its will. And just as the body relies on its veins for nourishment and health, the village depends on these men to keep its vital flow strong and steady. The river, in all its magnificence and menace, was their shared reality. Fishermen, priests, and chiefs, their roles seemingly distinct, were, in truth, interwoven parts of the same whole. Theirs was a delicate balance, a testament to the intricate ways in which humans adapt, innovate, and lead within the constraints and opportunities presented by their environment. By the river's edge, they had learned to thrive, not in spite of the dangers, but because of them. For those who lived by the river, every decision, every action, every offering was a calculated move in a game as old as time itself. A game of survival, adaptation, and mutual dependence. Now, as the sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, we see the riverbank come alive in a different way. The day's heat is replaced by the soft glow of lanterns. The air is filled with the aroma of cooking fires and the murmur of returning fishermen. Under the cloak of night, the river transforms into a mirror, reflecting the myriad emotions that stir within the human heart. And as the stars begin their celestial dance above, we're reminded of the timeless rhythms that govern life by the river. Here, in this interplay of darkness and light, of toil and rest, of risk and reward, the story of those who live by the river continues to unfold. Their lives, shaped by the river's ebb and flow, are a testament to the enduring spirit of humanity in the face of nature's grandeur. The river was alive with unseen spirits, guardians of its flow, its depth, and its bounty. Certain stretches of the river were sacred. They were dangerous to cross, and no one fished there except by special permission. And even then, only certain kinds of nets could be used. In some places, the river was the home of ancestral spirits, who had to be placated, lest they bring sickness or misfortune. Elsewhere, it was the domain of animal spirits, who demanded respect or would exact retribution. Some sections of the river were simply too deep or too fast to be safe, and so they were also deemed dangerous in the local cosmology. This danger was not always in the realm of the spirit. Sometimes the river was just wild and unpredictable, like the capricious gods that people attributed to it. Storms could swell it suddenly, turning normally shallow crossings into raging torrents. Fish could slink down deep in the sudden cold, empty-handed fishermen who relied on the shallows. It was a force of nature that inspired awe, and people felt compelled to recognize its awesome power. For people living near rivers, this process of deciding what is safe and what is dangerous isn't just about personal safety, because rivers provide many of the resources people need to survive: food and water and fertile soil for planting. People also need to regulate access to these resources. And to do that, they often turn to specialists. Priests, diviners, those who are knowledgeable about the spiritual world and how it overlaps with our own. They use their expertise to help everyone else navigate the unseen forces that affect their lives. So let us look at how people use divination and priesthood to manage risk and cultivate safety along a river. In the Congo River Basin in Central Africa, the river was alive with unseen spirits, guardians of its flow, its depth, and its bounty. Villagers believed that certain stretches of the river were sacred and dangerous. They were home to powerful spirits that demanded respect. Crossing them or fishing there without permission could invite calamity. So, the local priests and diviners acted as custodians of these boundaries. They marked the limits of the sacred with carved stakes and trails of incense smoke, designating places where rituals had to be performed before anyone could pass. These rituals were woven into the fabric of daily life. Fishermen cast their nets only after ceremonies announcing the opening of the fishing zone, and traders waited for the start of the trading season. Proclaimed by priests who used divination to determine when the river spirits would be propitious. They might have done this with a throwing net, which is one of the oldest forms of divination, or with other techniques such as examining patterns of sand or water. A throwing net has a certain pattern of weights, and it creates another pattern when it lands. By interpreting the location and orientation of the weights, diviners could learn about things that will happen in the future. If the river was calm and the results auspicious, they were clear to go. But if there was turbulence, that meant the spirits were not pleased and they should wait another day. Once the all clear had been given, the fishermen still had to show respect. They offered food, palm oil, and small figurines to the river at boundary markers, and followed a strict set of rules for casting their nets. If they caught a pregnant female fish, they had to throw it back. If they caught an undersized fish, they had to throw it back. They also had to give thanks at the end of each fishing trip and ask for continued good fortune. To make sure everyone followed these rules, the priests also built shrines along the riverbanks where people could leave offerings and pay their respects. Some shrines were elaborate affairs with platforms and fences around them, while others consisted of nothing more than a flat stone or a bent sapling. But no matter what form they took, they all served the same purpose: reminding people of the danger lurking beneath the surface and the rituals required to stay safe. And when the rules were broken, the consequences could be dire. Illness, poor catches, or even accidents could befall those who ventured onto the river without paying their respects. Some people believed the river was sentient, and it exacted a terrible revenge on those who trespassed against its sacred sites. Others blamed specific malevolent spirits, holding them responsible for the misfortunes that befell fishermen. Priests mediated these situations, attempting to negotiate forgiveness between the offenders and the offended parties. They might demand additional offerings or corrective rituals to appease the spirits and restore balance to the river's ecosystem. If someone drowned, they believed the river had swallowed them whole and demanded compensation consisting of several months' worth of the victim's favorite foods, which they threw into the river to pacify its wrath. In some cases, the priests themselves went out into the river to search for the missing person's soul, attempting to coax it back to the body with songs and prayers. Even if they were successful, though, the river still had to be appeased. In cases of illness or accidents, Priests might also consult with diviners to determine if someone had transgressed against the river's rules and identify any lingering, malevolent spirits. During fishing season, they patrolled the riverbanks to catch people violating the rules. They carried staffs topped with river water or bundles of leaves from sacred fig trees, symbols of their authority. When they found someone breaking the rules, they confronted them and ordered them to stop, then led them to the nearest shrine to perform a ritual to undo the damage that had been done. The priests weren't the only ones watching over the river, though local chiefs also had an interest in making sure people followed the rules. After all, their subjects relied on the river for survival, and if it stopped providing fish or flooded their fields, it could spell disaster. So chiefs backed up the priests' authority with political oversight, ensuring they had the resources they needed to carry out their duties. They also stepped in to resolve any disputes that arose over fishing rights or accusations of wrongdoing. The river, therefore, became a place where law, faith, and custom converged. Rituals served as a form of moral policing, regulating human behavior to maintain harmony with the spirit world. And the priests and chiefs, together with diviners and elders, formed a network of authority that enforced these norms. The river's rhythms dictated the pace of life for the people who lived near it, and its bounty sustained them through thick and thin. It was a constant presence in their lives, a source of both sustenance and danger, and they respected it as such. As you saw, this respect manifested itself in many ways, from the construction of shrines to the performance of daily rituals. It wove itself into every aspect of their relationship with the river, shaping their beliefs, their behaviors, and their understanding of the world around them. This type of relationship isn't unique to the people living along the Congo River. In fact, similar beliefs and practices can be found all over the world, wherever people live in close proximity to bodies of water. In many cultures, rivers are seen as powerful, dynamic entities, and people develop complex beliefs and rituals surrounding them. Some cultures believe that rivers are home to spirits or deities that must be appeased with offerings and sacrifices. Others see them as sources of life and fertility, and they hold festivals and ceremonies to celebrate their bounty. Still, others view them as dangerous and unpredictable forces of nature, and they rely on rituals and taboos to keep themselves safe. Regardless of how people conceptualize these waterways, though, they generally recognize that they are powerful agents that shape the world around them. They understand that rivers can nourish and sustain life, but also that they can destroy and disrupt it. And they develop beliefs and practices accordingly, seeking to live in harmony with these powerful forces of nature. So, as you go about your day, take a moment to appreciate the rivers in your life. Whether they're vast and mighty or small and seemingly insignificant. Remember that they are more than just bodies of water. They are dynamic, powerful forces that shape the world around them. And the beliefs and practices of the people who live near them reflect this understanding. Next time you hear the rush of water over smooth stones or feel the spray of a waterfall on your face, take a moment to appreciate the intricate relationship between humans and rivers. Whether we're harnessing their power for our own needs or simply marveling at their beauty, rivers have always been more than just bodies of water. They're mirrors reflecting our deepest fears and aspirations, shaping our beliefs and guiding our actions as they wind their way through the tapestry of our lives. In the heart of northern Nigeria, nestled amidst a landscape shaped by the Sahara's embrace, there existed a world where trade was king and prosperity held the promise of spiritual enlightenment. This is the story of the Hausa merchant elites, a tale of wealth, faith, and the relentless march of time. The sun beats down on a bustling marketplace, a kaleidoscope of sights, sounds, and textures. Amidst the vibrant chaos, a group of men stand out, distinguished by their flowing robes and turbans. They are the Hausa merchant elites, the kings of commerce in this ancient realm. Their influence stretches far beyond the confines of the marketplace. They are the shapers of social norms, the architects of political alliances, and the patrons of Islamic learning. The merchant families of Houseland, especially those based in the trading cities like Kano, establish their authority through the control of valuable commodities such as kola, nuts, cloth, leather, and other prized possessions. The kola nut, a stimulant that became a symbol of hospitality and an essential component of trade, holds a special place in their dominion. Cloth, dyed in rich indigos, becomes more than just fabric. It's a canvas of social status and cultural pride. Leather, transformed into exquisite works of craftsmanship, speaks of skill and tradition. Together, these commodities represent not just wealth, but a way of life, a testament to the ingenuity and enterprise of the Hausa people. Their power is further amplified by their deep understanding of the dynamics of trade. They know the art of navigating treacherous routes, of reading the shifting sands of demand and supply, of forging alliances that ensure their dominance. The caravan, a spectacle of organized might, becomes an extension of their will. As the sun sets over the horizon, casting long shadows across the sand, the merchants return home to oases of tranquility amidst the desert's unforgiving expanse. Here, the mud brick walls of their houses stand as silent sentinels, guarding not just their wealth, but their legacy. Within these homes, the echo of commerce mingles with the whispers of devotion. For these merchants are not just traders seeking profit, they are patrons of Islamic learning and local religious practices. Their wealth becomes a conduit for spreading the teachings of Islam, building mosques that serve as beacons of faith, fostering schools where the Quran's wisdom is shared, and supporting scholars whose knowledge enriches the community. Their homes are not merely places of residence, they are hubs of intellectual discourse, cultural exchange, and spiritual growth. The aroma of incense mingles with the scent of leather and spices, creating an atmosphere where faith and trade intertwine seamlessly. As the call to prayer echoes across the land, the merchants and their families gather to perform their rituals, finding solace in the shared experience that transcends the boundaries of their commercial pursuits. But the narrative of the Hausa merchant elites is not just about opulence and piety. It's a story etched in the very fabric of the community. The wealthy families stand as cornerstones, building not just individual fortunes, but communal structures that become integral to community life. The markets they establish, the mosques they construct, the wells they dig, all bear witness to their enduring impact. These structures are not just physical landmarks, they are social arteries, facilitating trade, fostering unity, and providing essential services. Yet, amidst this tapestry of wealth and influence, the spectre of impermanence looms large. Wars, environmental changes, and the ebb and flow of trade routes can shift fortunes in an instant. The very forces that propel their rise to prominence can also contribute to their downfall. In the annals of oral history, the memories of these merchant lineages endure. Storytellers, with their rhythmic cadence, keep alive the tales of their generosity, their clever strategies, and in some instances, the harsh consequences for those who dared defy the market's rules. These narratives, woven into the fabric of community gatherings, reinforce not just the legends of the elites, but also the social memory of wealth, its responsibilities, and the respect it commands. Around evening, when the air cools and the sky blazes with hues of orange and purple, the town square comes alive with activity. Children, their eyes wide with wonder, gather around elders who become living storybooks, breathing life into tales of the past. The market structures, silent witnesses throughout the day, now provide a backdrop for these captivating narratives. The rhythmic clatter of the storyteller's tongue fills the space where once the murmur of commerce echoed. Each word resonates with the weight of history, each sentence painting vivid pictures of a bygone era. The elders, with their deep voices and animated gestures, transport the audience through time, making the legendary merchants larger than life. They speak of the audacious journeys, the shrewd negotiations, and the monumental contributions of these historical figures. Their stories become moral compasses, guiding the young with lessons of integrity, perseverance, and social responsibility. As the stories unfold, the children listen with rapt attention, their imaginations taking flight. They hear of epic battles where the merchants defended their caravans against marauders, showcasing bravery and unity. They learn of diplomatic missions where the elites forged alliances between trading cities, emphasizing the importance of collaboration and cultural exchange. And they are captivated by tales of immense wealth, not just in terms of material possessions, but in the intangible riches of knowledge and spirituality. The square, with its open expanse and weathered market stalls, transforms into a theatre of the mind, where the boundaries of reality blur and the past comes to life. The Hausa merchant elites personified the fusion of economic prowess and spiritual devotion, exemplifying the harmonious coexistence of material success and ethical conduct. However, their journey to prosperity was not without its challenges, often fraught with peril and uncertainty. The control of vital commodities, such as cola nuts, gave them substantial power, but it also made them targets. Rival traders and opportunistic rulers occasionally attempted to curtail their influence or exploit their wealth, forcing the elites to navigate a complex web of alliances and diplomacy. Yet, despite these challenges, the merchants stood firm, protecting their interests and preserving their hard-earned gains. Their resilience was evident in their architectural marvels, particularly their homes. These structures were not just residences, but fortresses of wealth and faith. The use of mud brick and the adoption of Islamic design elements showcased their adaptation to the harsh desert environment, while also reflecting their deep religious convictions. Within these homes, the echoes of commerce mingled with the whispers of devotion, as the merchants balanced their worldly pursuits with spiritual obligations. Their impact resonated far beyond their own walls, shaping the very structure of the communities they inhabited. The construction of mosques, markets, and wells not only served practical purposes, but also solidified their status as patrons and leaders. These structures became focal points of social life, fostering a sense of unity and shared identity among the populace. However, the material success of the Hausa merchant elites was not solely measured by the grand homes or the towering mosques. It was also deeply rooted in their commitment to education and scholarship. Despite their involvement in the lucrative trade of slaves, many of them were devout Muslims who recognized the importance of literacy and religious instruction. They established schools and sponsored scholars, ensuring that the teachings of Islam were disseminated widely. This commitment to knowledge not only contributed to the spread of religion, but also helped create a literate and informed populace. Yet even amidst their opulence and influence, the Hausa merchants understood the impermanent nature of their fortunes. Wars, natural disasters, and shifts in trade routes could disrupt their wealth and their lives abruptly. This awareness fostered a sense of humility and responsibility. They knew that their wealth was not a birthright, but a trust that demanded wise management and ethical conduct. Today, as we reflect on the lives of these remarkable individuals, let us find inspiration in their pursuit of excellence, their resilience in the face of adversity, and their commitment to their faith and community. Let their story be a reminder that true success lies not just in material wealth, but in the positive impact one can have on society and the lasting legacy that can endure through generations. Now, let's sit back, relax, and enjoy the view as the sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of amber and crimson. Welcome to our channel, where we take you on captivating journeys through the heart of Africa. Don't forget to like this video, share your thoughts, and stay tuned for more incredible adventures. As always, thanks for watching. As our journey through the dusty roads, bustling markets, and vibrant trade routes comes to a close, let us settle beneath the evening sky and reflect on the lives we have visited. The Hausa traders, with their caravans stretching across the Sahel, endured scorching heat, treacherous terrain, and the constant uncertainty of commerce. Every coin gained carried the weight of hardship. Every negotiation tested the boundaries of trust and honor. Yet their story is more than toil and survival. Markets became centers of community where prayers were whispered over goods. Stories were told to guide the young, and justice was meted with care. Trade was intertwined with faith, and the rhythm of commerce moved hand in hand with spiritual practice. These traders shaped not only economies, but the social and moral frameworks that governed daily life. The mystique of indigo trade, the careful crafting of textiles, and the silent bargains of caravans remind us that human ingenuity and resilience often bloom in the harshest of conditions. Even the most perilous journeys carried lessons of patience, foresight, and ethical responsibility. The legacy of Hausa merchants endures in the lineage of families. The stories remembered in griot songs, and the structures, both material and social, that still mark towns across northern Nigeria and beyond. As the night deepens, imagine the cool breeze sweeping across the Sahel, the soft clatter of goods settling in quiet markets, and the gentle hum of prayers and songs that have echoed for centuries. Life was hard, yet rich with meaning. In remembering these traders, we honor not only their struggles and triumphs, but also the wisdom embedded in their journeys, wisdom about community, integrity, and the delicate balance between risk and reward. Let the mind rest now. The fires dim, the market stalls are empty, and only the whisper of history remains. You are calm, grounded, and carried gently by the stories of those who came before. Now close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let the vastness of the Sahel settle within you like a peaceful sigh. Feel the cool earth beneath you, firm and unwavering, supporting you, anchoring you to the present moment. You are here, now, in this place of quiet reflection. Surrounded by the echoes of laughter, the murmur of trade, and the gentle strum of a one-stringed lute. The air carries the scent of wood smoke, spices, and the sun-baked earth, a comforting aroma that speaks of home and hearth. Above you, the Milky Way stretches like a river of stars, its gentle light a constant in the ever-changing sky. Are you ready to return? Are you ready to carry a piece of the Sahel within you? Let the spirit of the traders, with their tales of resilience and their commitment to community, be your guide. As you re-enter the world, may your steps be lighter, your heart be fuller, and your spirit be enriched by the timeless wisdom of the Hausa merchants. And when the day is done and the sun dips below the horizon, may the vibrant colors of the Sahel fill your dreams, reminding you of the beauty and strength found in the face of adversity. Hold on to the warmth of the fires you've witnessed, the camaraderie of the traders, the rhythm of their lives, for they are not just stories of the past, but a living legacy that continues to shape the world around you. Carry the lessons of patience, foresight, and integrity in your heart, and let them be your compass as you navigate the complexities of life. Just as the stars above guided the travelers across the vast expanse of the desert, may you, too, find solace and direction in the wisdom shared beneath the evening sky. If you enjoyed this experience, please remember to show your support. Your encouragement means everything to us. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Until next time, may the spirit of adventure and discovery continue to guide you. You are now under baobab skies.